Well. I wanted to bring a people continue to ask about real estate investing, and I wanted to do this content on why you need to be very careful, especially with trying to invest in real estate right now or even purchasing a home. Now, this does not constitute me being a financial advisor. This is just giving you my experience and my opinion from different and various industries that I am in currently right now. So if you have any financial questions or advice, I suggest that you seek out your CPA and your attorney. So what I want to really bring to light to people, why now might not be the best time to purchase a home or even to purchase investment property, because a lot of people want to get into real estate investing. But if you have not been listening to the news, right now the market is really hot. So especially depending on where you located and what city and region you may be interested in moving in, you're going to see that the real estate is very actually the inflation on the prices is going out of this world, to be honest. Hello everybody, thank you for joining me. Now, you want to take in consideration what end are you looking to come in on the market. If you are currently right now looking to buy your own permanent residence, you have a lot of realtors, a lot of brokers that because of what's going on with the financial market, if you're not staying in tune, what's going on is there's a lot of investors in the residential home market. And a lot of this is taking place. Even with the stock market, you're seeing a lot of sell-off because Joe Biden is presenting a tax plan that is a tax plan that's aimed to make the wealthy pay their fair share. But if you know anything about the wealthy, anything about finance, it's very difficult to make the wealthy pay taxes. So they're looking to up the capital gains tax. So what that will affect is investments like stock. It's going to affect investments even like real estate. So one of the key components of the tax plan with Joe Biden, it's called the 1031 exchange. So if you are looking to invest in real estate, you need to know about the 1031 exchange. The 1031 exchange is a way that you can purchase a property, an investment property, and it can go up and appreciate in value, and you can then trade up to a like type of property or investment. So if, let's say you started with a 6-family property, you might have bought it back in the 80s for $100,000, and right now currently, depending on what city you're in, let's use New Jersey, Newark, because I know the market there. That person might have bought it in the 80s at $100,000, and now that property is worth close to $700,000. So with that, anything that's over $500,000, what they want to do is tax the capital gains up front on the property. With the 1031 exchange, you could sell that property and invest into a larger, let's say a $2 million 30 unit. And instead of paying that capital gains tax when you sell that property, you can now take all your capital gains or that investment gap of that 600,000 and roll it over into a larger property. And the only time that you would have to pay that capital gains is once that property is finally sold and you do not reinvest. So the advantage is it's a way to build wealth. So say if you have children, and I'm using this example because this is my mother's experience. My parents bought 6-family back in the 80s. So normally what would happen when that person even passes away, if they have a will, if I would inherit that property with the capital gains of 600,000, for me, I wouldn't have to pay capital gains tax, because what that law would do, it will look at it as zero. So I wouldn't have a capital gains because it's been transferred over into my name, because your parents or whoever you're inheriting the property has passed away, and now you're getting this property at the value of 700,000, and since you haven't made any money or any capital gains, you don't have to pay a tax liability. But now what they want to do with these larger investment properties, if it's beyond, because this is the way people will pass wealth, especially for those who have parents like my parents that's in the boomer age bracket. They might have bought investment properties or bought homes when the prices was much lower, so their homes could be paid off. So, but now with this change that they're looking at, I would have to be responsible for the capital gains of my mother. You would have to pay it up front. So you would have to pay that tax liability. So now with the capital gains tax, they're looking to go up on the capital gains tax on the federal level to about 43%. Now, if you have state tax, you would have to pay the state tax also. So let's take a state like New York. The capital gains of 43% and the state tax, you would have to pay 63% upfront of that tax liability when that child or that relative immediately inherit that home before you can pass it through. Now, keep in mind, this is for investment properties. So that's what they're trying to change. That also, that capital gains tax, they are going to apply it to stock and investments. So what you're starting to see now, if you're looking to buy a home while the home prices is going up, remember, the wealthy spend their life trying to avoid paying taxes. So a lot of them, before this wave come in, they are selling out their stocks, and some of them are selling some of these larger properties, and they're buying residential properties, because keep in mind, it doesn't the new tax won't trigger unless that property is worth over 500,000. So what they're doing now is taking their money and parking it somewhere else, and that is in residential homes. So now with the inventory being so low, because it's different memorandums or moratoriums that's going on where people can't be evicted, also they can't be put out of their home if they're going or in foreclosure, or if they are behind on their mortgage. The inventory is low. So now you have these investment companies that's outbidding regular retail people who are trying to buy a home. So what you're seeing is homes being bidded up 6 times past what their actual value is, even what they're appraising for. And these investors are buying these homes cash. That's it. So if you're a person that you have a mortgage that you're trying to buy this home with or financing for the bank, of course, the homeowners, they will rather take the cash. So, and yeah, exactly. The 1031 exchange is definitely, it has been something that the wealthy have taken advantage of. And those that what they call the upper middle class, keep in mind, my parents wouldn't consider themselves upper middle class, but if you have a number of multifamily homes or a number of homes that you do rent out, guess what? Depending on where they at, if the value have went up, they're considering that as a wealthy tax. So you want to keep that in mind. Thank you for joining me, Miss Williams. You want to keep that in mind. So if you also need to look at if you have loved ones who have left you large properties or just raw real estate. So on my father's side, we have property that is like 100 Century Farm, and it's a large partial, large acres of land. If it's in a certain area, you might need to look into that, because if you're not occupying that land, and remember, it's considered as an investment. So depending on how much, especially with us, we're not talking about if it's just 3 or 4 acres. With him, it's like 75 acres and plus. It can be, the land can be valued, especially with the way the market is going, it may be valued over that amount. So you have to look into that. And you're saying houses are expensive in Nevada now, thanks to California. And that's another part. When you have places like California, Jersey is there, New York is there, you gotta be careful, because this 1031 exchange can be triggered even on personal homes. Like, so if your home value or your parents' home value, especially now with all the money printing, inflation, there are times that even that Passover to switch over, if you're not careful, you want to make sure that it's a lot of people that sell their home, and that parent, if they move to Florida or they're looking for a home, there is a certain amount of time that you have to flip that money over to another property. So you want to make sure that you keep your eyes on this. So that's going to be a loss. Somebody said, how about Texas? One thing about Texas, unlike some of these other areas, there's some with the investment part, yeah, it will account Texas. If we're talking about the 1031 exchange, yeah, because it's on a federal level. So when they increase the capital gains tax, yeah, that will include Texas. But places like Texas and Florida, the difference is there's no state tax. So you might not get as much as New York or New Jersey or California, which theirs are probably going to end up to about maybe 63% in New York. Texas, it will be 43% of capital gains tax if that home or that investment home is over $500,000. So it all depends on possibly where that home is located in Texas. With states like California, Jersey, New York, 5 boroughs, because upstate New York might not be as expensive, and certain parts of Connecticut, Jersey, most likely you're going to get hit across the board. You know, New York, the 5 boroughs, you might get hit across the board unless that is your personal residence where you actually live. So you want to keep that in mind. So probably some parts of Florida, maybe Miami, certain parts of Florida, you probably got to watch out for too, because like I said, the home value, it has to be more or less, you want to pay attention to the investment property. And like I said, so it's for the investment property, but there are times with your own personal residence, if that money is not flipped over in a certain amount of time and that property is over 500,000, it could trigger. So you want to keep that in mind moving forward. So a lot of these investors are selling and now competing with folks like you. Thank you so much for the super chat, Miss Williams. Thank you. Happy Mother's Day to all of you. Thank you so much. So what is happening, what you need to be careful of, I heard certain real estate agents and I heard certain mortgage agents telling people that if the house is not appraising for that much, you need to be willing to put beyond, to make up the gap, or put money beyond what the home is appraising for the bank. But you need to make sure if that home is not appraising for the bank, the home is not worth that much. So you want to make sure that you're very careful about doing that. Keep in mind, mortgage agents, real estate agents, all work off commission. The more they can drive you or get you to incentivize to purchase a home at a higher amount, the more they get paid. Now, if that home, even with the agent, right now it's a seller's market. That listing agent, now any home they're listing is almost like what we used to call, when I had my real estate license, that's called guaranteed money. Because when you have a market like this, it's going to sell. Okay. Happy Mother's Day. Thank you so much. That home is going to sell. So it's guaranteed money for them. So you want to keep that in mind. If you're not careful, we have a lot of pent up right now properties, homes, and inventory that pretty soon people might be out or going into foreclosure. So why would you want to buy this at the top of the market? Because once this crash, then you're going to be stuck with a home that's upside down. And that's what happens in '08. Now, another part of it is, if you don't know, I'm in the property preservation industry. So I have a company for property preservation. So right now I'm going back and forth, Jersey and Texas. One thing, we're having meetings, and we had one with our contractors, okay? And what they are telling us and what they told us in the summertime, the banks themselves, when we were dealing with the '08, and I got into the industry around 2011, you guys, it was about what you saw, and it looked like it was a ton of foreclosures. About 8 million homes went into foreclosures. In our meeting, the banks are talking about this time around, they're looking at 32 million. Okay, 32 million homes slated to go in foreclosure. Then on top of that, what nobody is talking about, but like I said, I'm in this industry. They're looking for vendors even for the commercial end. So if you're not looking at the pandemic, remember, businesses got shut down. And so now they are looking, it's a whole nother lane for commercial property. And we're talking about malls, retail stores, and retail buildings. So think about that. If you live in a place like New York, New Jersey, and if right now I'll go on Zillow, one thing you got to keep in mind, it takes years If you're in New York, New Jersey, some of these cities, because it's a judicial process for these foreclosures. We're still inspecting homes that's been sitting since 2010, because when all these foreclosures came in, it put a backfill in the court. And keep in mind why it's so hard for you to get a home is because people think the bank owns their home. The bank do not own your home. You own your home, because unlike a car, when you're financing, the bank holds the title. When you purchase a home, you get the deed. So the bank don't own the home. They have a lien against the property. So places like New Jersey, New York, it takes a long time for that foreclosure suit or process. What it is the banks trying to get permission to redeem that property so they can sell to satisfy the debt. So with us being in the banking industry, we understand, you guys, the mortgage companies are not interested in being landlords, okay? Because we would have that all the time. I made a video how me and my father, we had a lawn cut business, okay? And when we picked up contracts, also with the banks, they're not interested. Anytime people will approach us, oh, can we rent this house? Can we buy the house? Number one, you cannot buy that home because it didn't go through the foreclosure process. So even when you saw those homes vacant and people said, well, when they going to sell? It's been sitting here for 5 years. It's not the bank's home. That they just secure the property. It's not the bank home. It's the owner's home. So I would tell them, you have to contact the owner because the bank doesn't own it. All the bank have us to do is to go and secure the properties. Okay, that's what they do. Because they want to secure the asset from getting more damage. So when it's time to sell, then they can get as much as possible. So I would tell them, you'll know when the home go through the process because you'll see a for sale sign. The banks are not interested in being landlords or maintaining the property. It actually costs them more. Okay. Thank you, Miss William. Please hit the like button if you can for me, you guys. Please hit the thumbs up. So think about it. The banks don't want to because they have to pay us. They have to pay, especially in urban areas like Newark, certain places where New York, certain neighborhoods, you're going to have people breaking in to their taking out copper, taking out whatever they can steal. And so they constantly will break in. They'll also be dumping at the property. So this is why they would call some of us in to do a cleanup. It costs city fines. And also, the mortgage company has to pay those taxes. Because one thing, if you learn, if you have a home, taxes precede even the mortgage. So what it is, it's a burden on the company. It's going to be a burden. So they want to get that debt off their books. This is why they try to have short sales. So you'll say, well, Sherry, what that has to mean for me? So let me tell you what it's going to mean for you. If you don't know what real estate, it goes on comps. Okay. So it goes on comps. So what is a comparable home selling for that is like the home you're interested in buying? So it should have the same bedrooms, kind of square footage, and that dictates the value of the rest of the home. So the last 3 comps, the last 3 sales for the like home like yours or what you're looking to purchase. So what happens is when these banks are trying to get these bad loans or these properties off their books, what do you think they're going to do? What they're going to do, say you bought that home for $400,000 because you bought it because of you're buying, you want to buy a home, the market is hot, and right now that's what that home is worth. But when they release some of these moratoriums, And what ended up happening, the banks start selling this stuff off. Or these homeowners, like these landlords who haven't been able to put these people out, and they're in a desperate situation because they got their own property, their own home to save, and they got these investment properties that they can't get rent from. They selling off. They're going to sell off. They're going to have to. So what's going on even right now, my properties in the Northeast, we're getting offers. Some of these people not so-called paying their rent, thinking that they're getting away with something. But what you might not know, these investors are going to these landlords, mom and pop landlords, because they know they're not getting the rent. And what they're doing is discounting the price which you sitting there. Because see, you can't invest in a property that is not generating income because you got tenants sitting there not paying rent. So what they're doing, a lot of these landlords, to get out of here, they'll discount with you sitting there, because then they have to make up to sell the property, and it's bringing your comps down in the area. It's bringing the home prices are going to come down. So when these homeowners are forfeiting or selling, trying to, even those right now who's in the moratorium just own their home, you're buying next door $400,000, but they can't pay their mortgage because they done shut down businesses, or they might have been the restaurant owner. They have to get out of debt. They sell that home. You bought it at $400,000. You look up your neighbor, sell it for $350,000. You look up, then the next neighbor, sell it for $300,000. And then you'll start seeing the market. You'll see, and your home is upside down. It'll be underwater because now you purchased it at a high rate at $400,000, and now when all the fallout, you'll just see it go down. That's what happened in 2008, 2011. And what they're not telling you, the banks, like I said, we're still inspecting homes from the last fallout. So if you have people telling you, oh, go ahead and bid beyond, that is nonsense. Oh no, it's the rates is just going to go higher. That the devil is a liar and a deceiver. Because once this all come out, take it from me, a lot of these landlords are going to get hit. Okay, they're going to get hit. And what's going to happen is a lot of people, it's going to be a lot of inventory. Now, one thing that I don't think a lot of people factor in, if you're already a renter, what's going to happen, especially in the Northeast, what you're going to see, you're going to see these moratoriums slowly come to the end. They might be talking about now, Jersey, talking about allowing 2 years for people to pay back their rent during the pandemic to the landlord. So if they're talking about 2 years, now, if you don't know, I'm a landlord. So soon as, especially these big corporations that own these buildings, they have attorneys. So it might look like the courts is shut down, but what happened is, especially in New Jersey, they can file for an eviction action, for their attorney can do it online to the courts. So if that be you, and if that, once that happened, you don't have to be evicted. You might just move. But because of the filing, it's going to prevent a lot of people from getting a apartment. And what people are, some people playing games, some people playing duck, duck, goose. But guess what's going to happen? Now, this just didn't happen in one region. This happened nationally. So I know a lot of people, things go bad in New York, New Jersey. I'm going to move down south. Guess what? The down south landlord ain't rocking with you neither. Everybody's going to be on their P's and Q's. So what's going to happen is, also what I talked about with Experian Boost, why not to put your utilities on there? There's a lot of people right now that haven't paid their light bill Because in New York, New Jersey, they didn't allow them to shut the lights off. They didn't allow them to shut their PSE&G bill, their gas bill. You got people sitting with $2,000, $5,000 gas bills as renters in their own name. You're going to have that debt too. So a lot of these people with the back rent get hit with that. The lawsuit, go on there, get hit with that debt. Also owe different PSE&G. And if you don't know, if you ain't paid public gas and electric, when you go to your old building, a new building, they're not going to turn your services on. You're going to have to pay them. And then what's going on, a lot of jobs is going to go out the door. So some of these people that think they have income is not going to have income. You think you're going to have a job. There's a lot of people on unemployment that's looking for homes or going to want a home. If you've been on unemployment for this whole time, for FHA, for you to qualify, you got to have steady employment for a whole year in order to qualify. So a lot of these people are going to be out of the home buying market because they're going to be in debt. And if you reported that to Experian Boost and all, that looks like debt on you. So you're not going to qualify. And it's going to hit your credit report if it turns into a collection. And a lot of people have rent collection, eviction collections, and it's a debt. So you got to think about that. So those people who might have, could have bought, or who are renters that could have bought from other just people selling their homes, are not going to be qualified. And it's going to cause, to me, it's going to be a crisis, because you're going to have tons of people that cannot qualify for an apartment, or what they're going to do is be forced to make an arrangement with that building and sit there. If it's for that 2 years to pay it back, and they're not going to be able to move. So anybody that needed an apartment, those units is going to be taken up. And it's going to be a crisis. Now, let's say those multifamily homes that get bought out by corporations. When you're dealing with New York City, you're dealing with Newark, New Jersey, there's something that's called rent control. So when you have a new buyer, they want the place empty because there's a cap on how much you can go up on the rent. So when them investors buy that, and the building, one thing about Jersey, they'll say they got the toughest landlord-tenant laws. They do, except for non-payment of rent. Anything with non-payment of rent, the judge will not hear you. You can be out very quickly, 6 weeks, okay? New York, it can take a long time. Y'all might got 6 months on a good day. Connecticut, it might, New York might be 6 months. Connecticut gonna be a good 2 months on a good day. Okay, maybe 3. And they gonna eat you alive, child. I know, on the plate. Connecticut's terrible, okay? But New York, worse. Jersey, you can get them out, okay? You can get them out. And if it's non-payment of rent, they don't want to hear nothing. I'm going to tell you, Jersey, I don't want to hear my mama, my cat, unless they change these laws. Jersey, I don't want to hear it. Oh, my stove broke. Yeah? Where's the receipt that you paid for it? Let me tell you. And they want you to post that rent. It's called a Marini hearing. You got to have all that rent just to talk to the judge. So a lot of these people are going to make deals. And they're going to sit in this housing because they're going to have no other choice. So all those that get evicted, not going to be able to. It's going to be very limited supply. And these big buildings that purchase from these landlords, they're going to kick up the price because of the rent control. They're going to have to price these units at the top of the market. This is what they do in New York. This is what they harass people out. And they'll have thugs come in and try to run everybody out the building because of the rent control. And then they can go up on that unit to the top of the market, because places like North, I don't think, I could be wrong, but I believe it's no more than $75 a year that you can go up on the rent. So a lot of these people are going to come in, these corporations, and rent it at the top of the market. These investors, these units at the top of the market. And so even for rent prices, you're not going to be a lot of people qualified for these homes that you already have homeowners in a desperate situation because they had lost employment and you got to pay back the mortgage company. So, and those who do have employment are going to be forced to sit in that home. That's what, because the market is going to come down, you guys. So don't let anybody scare you into saying, oh, I got to buy at the top of the market now. Now, far as investment property, if you can find a deal, but I doubt it right now, until everything, the floodgates open up, just like before in the 08 or in the 011, there was tons of homes sitting there just empty. Okay, they was just, and it got to a point, it was so much inventory that the banks would not put them all on the market because it would kill the market. Okay, so they, with us, we knew they was withholding properties. They even began to sit on some and not even sell it because it would have brought the home prices down even more. So right now people say, oh, it's investors with money. Yeah, because it's right now it's limited inventory. It's limited inventory. And you're saying, yeah, floodgates, because it's different than 2008. It's much different because 2008 was a certain industry. This was the whole world. So you're talking about, like I said earlier, we talked to the banks and they're letting us know. 2008. And that whole stint that we finally came from, 8 million homes, 8 million. Now they're talking about 32 million. And that was back in the summertime. So it is going to be the floodgates, not including, like I said, they're looking for contractors for the commercial end. So when you're going to see a lot of empty commercial buildings, and that means less jobs. So you're going to have a lot of people. And then on top of that, what you're seeing in New York, New Jersey, and some of these other areas like California, a big migration, as the young lady said, the millennials, those that actually can qualify for these homes, but because they can't purchase anything in their area, you're going to see, and those that's been working on their laptop, that's getting the income, they're going into other states. They're going into states like Texas. They're going into states like Nevada. They're going to Florida. And you're seeing your ultra rich. Like I saw 50 Cent just did a post. He's in Houston. And the reason why I say 50 Cent, because he made it clear that if Joe Biden get in, he was leaving. He said that point blank. He said, I'm leaving New York. And now, I'm in Houston. Yeah, we know you in Texas. So, because there's no personal state tax. This is why you're seeing all these millionaires like Trump going to Florida. A lot of the financial people are going to Florida and Miami, Tampa, and Orlando. They're leaving. So Nevada, they're going to Nevada. It's right next door from LA. Vegas is right there. So you have a lot of them going elsewhere because those talents, those millennials, even those higher income earners just realize if they can work at home, they can move somewhere else. They're not trapped in some of these cities like LA, New York, even like it's Boston and some of these cities. So they're going other places because they're not able to get a home. And then we're going to talk even further about property and taxation. So property taxes in California is tough. Jersey is worse. And the 5 boroughs is not even as bad as Jersey, but it's bad. So when you're dealing with a lot of these states, blue states, property taxes is crazy. So what you're going to see is a lot of these people leaving these areas. Like you said, San Francisco, you even see a big flight from tech companies going down into Miami. You're seeing a lot of change. Elon Musk leaving from California down to Austin, calling it the new LA. So you're going to see a lot of people abandoning, and you're going to see a lot of your corporations leave also. So the so-called tax on the rich. Thank you so much, Miss Miller. Got an overstock card. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. I'm glad that you benefited from the information. So you want to be careful, you guys. Make sure if you are looking to purchase a home, I suggest wait till the market cool down. Even if you're coming in as an investor, a lot of people all want to invest in real estate. You never buy at the top of the market. You don't have enough leverage. Whenever you buy real estate, you guys, you should be buying. Make sure you buy with equity. So you should be trying to buy where that home you already know is worth 20 grand above what you're buying it from. So you are only as good as your exit strategy. You never buy on the top of the market. So it might be a good time when all of this start rolling in. I heard people saying, oh, all the banks is going to buy all up everything. Trust me, if that was the case, all the investors is going to buy up everything. If that was the case, why didn't they buy it up the last time? And I laughed. I was like, if that was the case, why they ain't buy all the ones for the last time? If you look around Newark, New Jersey and something, you still see some of these homes that's still jacked up. Okay? You look around New York, there's still certain boroughs, there's still stuff that's jacked up. Okay? So that is not necessarily true. They ain't going to be enough. It look like it's a lot of money because it's a small inventory. So don't be driven by your emotions. Now I'm going to tell you about some alternatives. I just wanted to make sure I covered all my point. Here's some alternatives that I see for investing in real estate now, and some stuff that I'm looking at in Texas. And I'm looking land. That's right, undeveloped land. And why I say that's a good investment, if you know now, building have been stalled because right now you have lumber at the highest rates. It's actually lumber is up 180% or 108%. So you have builders, there's a high demand for homes, but builders have not been able to take advantage of it because of the lumber price. The second part, builders cannot get people to come to work because with all of this unemployment being given out, now they can't get workers. Workers are sitting at home. And that's going to be another part with this big thing. It's going to be a lot of people, once this unemployment run out, that ride, they're going to all flood the market. And it's not going to be enough jobs for them. Okay? So if folks getting unemployment, thank you so much, Mr. Davis. I really appreciate it. If you want to, and you're saying Arizona, what you say? What about Phoenix? Phoenix is going up like crazy. Phoenix. Now, one thing I would say about Arizona, Phoenix is really, even the rent in Phoenix is higher than what it was last year. It's really up. Phoenix, but around Phoenix is a tricky one because where Phoenix is located, a lot of that land is not really even available, but you can go where, one thing, Arizona have areas where you can get really cheap land. So the only problem with Arizona is getting utilities to that land. So about water, but Phoenix, you might have to, you might have to see how the market cool off, because Phoenix is another one. It's a really hot market. Yeah, a lot of people went to Phoenix. A lot of millennials went to Phoenix. So, but you can, or if you can, I know it's a big area. So asking someone to travel, you might have to look at, if you want it now, trying to travel. Yeah, and the rent is high. Yeah, because Phoenix is almost like that. LA is really spread out. Phoenix is spread out too. So But land in Arizona is really cheap. You can get undeveloped land. Actually, I think Bill Gates is trying to build his super city and bought, I think, a couple of 100 acres out there, but it's in between. I know, I think it's in between that Vegas, going to Vegas, and I don't want to be wrong, and going in between, I think it's Phoenix and Vegas, in between that strip there. So, but one thing about Phoenix, the taxes, and especially for retirement, is very favorable. So you might have to keep that in mind. And I don't know the exact, I have to check Phoenix again about the home prices. Because I will say, Arizona, I was looking for that in retirement. I was looking at Cochise County, and also, which was the boonies, and up there by Sholo. And no, so you can, but that's all out of the that's out of the box from Phoenix. That's more or less on that Tucson, and Tucson is going up too. But going back to what I'm saying is land. Land would be optional. Like land in Phoenix, I know it's hot, but I see a big opportunity with raw land and mobile home investing. That's what I'm seeing. I know even, and you said all over Florida. And Florida is another opportunity. I know Florida with the snowbirds for mobile home investing. That's a little hot, a hot item. But I think raw land. I think in Florida you should be able to buy raw land. You should. I know my father have a home around in Kissimmee County there, but it should be a lot of raw land there. Now with Florida, with mobile home investing, I know you can do it out in Phoenix, Arizona. And the great thing about mobile home investing, a lot of people look down on it, but you're not really purchasing a property, and you're not paying for, you can rent that unit out, but it's not attached. So it doesn't consider the land as being developed. So remember, with these house prices going up, I think a lot, depending on the area you in, y'all got to be careful. Even with these house prices going up right now with stick-built homes, your taxes going to go up because your taxes is assessed by the home value. So if you're buying in certain areas and your taxes is going up, your home price going up, they're going to reassess your taxes. So you want to be very careful, okay? Even with some of these people that bought these homes in Newark and they got a tax abatement, now because it was new, some of their taxes is $15,000 a year, okay? So you want to keep that in mind. Places in Jersey, when I knew it was a wrap for me, looking out in Bedminster, that's one of the best places you can be. You know, that's where Trump have his home and have his golf course. A lot of them paying $50,000, $75,000 a year in property taxes. I'm like, that's life. That's what's good. It's crazy. So when you're looking at now, that was 2 or 3 years ago. What is it going to be now? So thank you so much again, Mr. Davis. I really appreciate it. So y'all got to just really think about your game plan and your strategy. I'm noticing land is down. Land prices is down. So what you can do, maybe look at purchasing land. They're flooding into, Orlando is crazy. All New York, New Jersey people going to Orlando. Really Florida looking like the new New York City. And like a lot of that is not wealthy people neither. A lot of that is retirees. And the one freaky thing you need to consider in Florida, because my father built a house in Florida, a rental property. Florida, you got to be careful with that land. And I wanted to segue with that. You got to do your research on land. Certain communities in Florida, and those that's in Florida probably know this, it's called an impact tax. So a lot of them, even to build in Florida, they're going to charge you $15,000. And it's called an impact tax because there's so many people moving in. into Florida. So they have to find another way of taxation. Currently in Chicago suburbs, looking to go to California, Carolinas, Texas, or Kansas. And I seen somebody say Arkansas, and those are very good choices. I heard somebody talk about Arkansas. Arkansas got some of the best laws for a landlord-tenant. My God, if I could get my hands on some, but I know Arkansas is a huge state. So trying to, I know it's one part right next to Memphis, Tennessee, and some of the prices can vary. But Arkansas, even they have cheap land prices. You can get really, really cheap land prices in Arkansas, probably less than even Arizona. So and like you said, Orlando is spread out too. And Orlando, that Kissimmee area. But Orlando, the closer you get to the mouse, that's going to be a whole nother thing. And so I hear a lot of people, even now, my daughter mentioned, and I saw somebody mention in the comments about Airbnb. Please keep in mind, and this is a general rule for anything of real estate investment. I don't care if it's land. I don't care if it's Airbnb. I don't care if it's rental property. You need to look at the laws wherever you go. Especially if you're looking to rent out a place, you better pay attention to the landlord-tenant laws, okay? You better not buy a root thing. I had learned that with Connecticut. It almost knocked my socks off. Do not go anywhere and buy something, a mobile, a piece of land, whatever, and you don't look into the landlord-tenant laws. And like you say, yeah, because Airbnb be snapping. Airbnbs. I know it was a lady in California, and California is like Jersey, have very liberal laws. Maybe not Florida as so much, because I keep telling y'all, if you're investing, and people can get triggered, if it's blue, it ain't for you. If it's red, you better go ahead. Child buy. Because they going to make your life a living hell. Any place that was blue, and if you're trying to invest, I'm sorry, for the middle class, it is not for you. Okay? It is not for you. They're going to hit you up. All I got to say, if the Democratic Party is control, if you're a renter, that's probably the place for you to be. Okay? If you on government assistance, that's probably the place for you to be. But if you looking to invest, start a business, ain't the place for you to be. I'm sorry, they're going to tax you. I done did Connecticut. I done did Jersey. New York, I went and touched it with a 10-foot pole. You better read them landlord-tenant laws, because in Connecticut, you got to serve them with a constable before you take them to court. They get 11 days to sit up there and not pay you rent. Then you go to court. You got to sit there and negotiate with both people. They ain't got money, and they're going to make you come back. Oh, okay, we're going to reschedule you. Then they go to the judge, yada, yada, yada. They still ain't got your money. And then you got to pay a home moving company $1,000 to put their stuff out on the street. Okay? Don't do it. And that take you about 2 months to do all of that. All right? So you better check out them landlord-tenant laws wherever you go. If you're looking for Florida, know them. Don't hustle backwards. Don't wait until you get folks not paying you rent to figure out how you're going to get them out. You got to know your exit plans. The Airbnb, when it come down to that, Jersey, California, them people sit there and you letting them rent for 30 days and over. A lot of times, and I think Florida too, if that person move in a toothbrush, you better watch out. So you got to make sure that can be somebody living with you. Okay. So especially with Airbnb, this couple did this to this woman who rented out her room in California, and they was residents. So a lot of states, if you let them sit there for over 30 days, whether they renting and you taking money, a certain period of time, that person lived there. Now I know with Florida, it's called an unauthorized detainer. Okay. So we got some rental property, and like I said, father got rental property in Florida, and I kind of helped my parents with that, and some in Virginia. So these laws are different, okay? So you have a whole different process on how you got to get these people out. So you want to make sure, even when it comes to with mobile homes, there are different variations when you're dealing with parks, okay, and just single mobile homes on a land. So you got to figure out how you want to structure that. So with mobile homes, it might be best when you research that laws, if you don't maybe be a landlord for them, you can finance the trailer, let them buy it. Because one thing about mobiles are not considered real property, real estate property, unless it's seated. So what you can do is like a used vehicle. And so you can allow them to finance for you with the money down, and they give you lot rent. And so it would be their responsibility to sit there and take care of the house, or what they call it, a manufactured home, because that will be their home. So to maintain the property, that's on them. So you want to make sure, yes, waiting on a moratorium. I would give, if you want to buy, I would even give it some time. If you can, I would give it some time. I'll let the cool down take place. Because one thing, even with land at this point, when the home prices go down, land's going to go down. Right now, land is low. Now, you want to make sure you watching where you invest in land, because it still stays the same. Okay? New York, New Jersey, no. When I say again, if it's blue, it ain't for you. Don't do it. If you're looking to invest, I just don't see it. And what was coming in in those areas, the way that they're trying to run small mom and pop landlords, I tell people, if you got a mom and pop landlord, you need to work with them. Because when them buildings come in, when these corporations take over, there's no negotiating with nothing, okay? So what I'm saying is this. It's not because they're so-called bad. I'll be honest. I have did insurance inspections to insure them. And a lot of them tell you they're just workers. So that lady you talking to in the front office, she's an employee. Just like you're an employee at your job. Whatever the rules is, the rules is. And what it happens with those buildings, remember, those deals is not off of somebody's credit. That's not. When you get those big units, it is based off the deal. So what the mortgage companies do is base it off the income. They're no longer looking at a personal credit score. They're looking at the income. So when they structure those deals, they have regulations and rules that before they can take a new tenant, their profile got to look a certain way. So they might require them to have a certain credit score. They might have to have them to make a certain amount of money as a requirement, maybe 3 times to 4 times the rent. And they are looking at now a certain amount of pay stubs. Some of them are asking for 6 months. But a lot of times that's not that management company. That is what the mortgage company is required. And they have to send that to the mortgage company to approve you moving in. So I try to give people information on how things are. Because a lot of people feel like everybody picking on me. No, you're just looking at things from your own perspective. Not everybody ain't picking on you. You just got to know what the truth is. And then you need to tailor your behavior to that, or you need to prepare. Because I'm a person that totally believe, look, you got to figure it out. And said Boston right now, $1,700 is for a studio. Jersey right now, studio, and we talking about in the sticks, is going about $1,300-$1,400. And it ain't going to get any better. You know, Newark, 2 to 3 bedroom apartment is like $2,100. Okay? I know Chicago. It's ridiculous. And we're not talking about good areas. We're not talking about good areas. So when you talking about some of these other just decent areas, you're talking about 2 or 3 bedrooms going 2,400. Renting a house is 3,200. So for these people playing, don't get it twisted. Like I said, I'm looking even at rental assistance because I'm a landlord. People need rental assistance. A lot of these people playing. New York already said you call in to these New Jersey, all that money they got, 40 million, whatever, in rental assistance. They already talking about for the person to qualify. They let them sit up on everybody else. They have to show that their unemployment that they're on was caused due to COVID-19. And I know there's a lot of folks that just quit their job because places in Jersey, if you get fired or got fired from their job, not quit, they'll get fired on purpose because New Jersey, even if you get fired, you might get penalized for 6 weeks, but you can still collect unemployment after that penalization. So them getting fired, some of them got fired on purpose so they can collect unemployment all this time. And so now they're saying they're not going to qualify them for rental assistance. So now they done stuck these landlords with this debt. Then on top of that, we're not talking about the undocumented or what they want to call illegal, undocumented. They're talking about they don't have enough proof for documentation, some of them to qualify. Okay? Thank you so much, Mr. Head. Thank you. I really appreciate it. And I really appreciate the super chat for everyone. I really do. So that's why I'm saying just keep in mind, strategize, keep your, somebody said your position on borrowing against your crypto assets. First for me with crypto, I just got into it. Folks that want to borrow, anywhere that you can find, and somebody said, what about buying in Mississippi? Okay, I'll address that. Oh, with your crypto, if you can use that to leverage it, because that's a whole new territory, I start looking into crypto. But if you have gains, why not? I feel if you can find it to use it to your better advantage. Investing in crypto, I think, might be a good option right now instead of investing in the stock market. The stock market is very manipulated. So anybody just have a belief that not have government interference, I think, or decentralization, crypto would be your probably next best option. Now, the only thing I would say about crypto, unlike the stock market, you don't have any history. So it is almost like the Wild Wild West. But if you can make gains really quickly and use those funds, I will say in anything with real estate, just make sure you're not buying at the top. You just want to make sure you do your research and get a discounted rate. Okay. And another thing that's coming in, a lot of people talk about tax liens. They have a lot of these places with high taxes, places like JP Morgan Chase is putting funds to come in and just buy in tax liens because they're looking to, with some of these landlords, some of these people not able to pay their property taxes. Some of them are looking to swoop in and take position on properties like that. Mississippi, I'm not quite sure about the landlord-tenant laws, but I'm quite sure they probably don't have that many protections. Alabama, I know, surely just started their landlord-tenant court in 2008. So anything that you have, I don't know about Georgia on how they run, but Florida have some, but not extremely crazy. Alabama, I know, is not extremely crazy. I can't say my experience of Mississippi, but I don't think it's going to be that tough. The only thing I will say about Alabama and Mississippi, and probably investing in land like Texas, you do have to just keep an eye on your mineral rights. Okay, so that's another thing. When you're buying land in those areas, they are known to have oil, gas rights. So you might want to keep an eye on your mineral rights in those areas. So my family got some land on both sides down there, and my mother's side, mineral rights. So what about Colorado? I know certain around Denver, certain Colorado, it was a lot of corporations building housing in Colorado, and that was supposed to be a next hot market, but I don't know where it is right now. I know they can be a little expensive in certain areas, but I will go back. If it's blue, ain't for you. If it's red, go ahead. That's all I got to say. Now, if it's blue, I don't know how great it is for investing. I'm just sorry. The taxation, and some people are like, oh, well, if you are in a blue state and you're a renter, or if you're somebody who is not like wealthy, or you on, disability or something like that, your income is going to be set down. Blue states is great for you. But if it's other places where you're looking to invest, red states are best. I see that they are probably best for you. But you will be dealing with probably lower corporate taxes and lower property taxes and taxation, and not as much regulations. I just been my experience. Any place that I tried to invest that's blue, they gave me hell. That's all I gotta say. So maybe I'm at a different stage in life, but they gave me hell. What about PA, VA, and North Carolina? PA is a commonwealth, so you gotta check out PA. They have different laws, but they're not as tight as Jersey or New York. But you might, if you're looking in that Philly area, a lot of people was picking up property there. You just want to make sure you vet it out. VA, they don't have tough landlord-tenant laws. My father have a house in VA, and they don't. In North Carolina, I'm not quite sure, but those are, I'm going to call them two red states, and a lot of times they have more preferable laws. I know PA, I don't believe PA have a lot of protections like that for tenants, because I see them, they started, I think they lift their memorandum moratorium. I'm sorry, their moratorium, and I'm seeing that they starting some eviction processes. So if somebody said, how about Detroit? Detroit have already been gentrified in a lot of areas. I think that wave is a little bit late right now. They done bought folks home from them. The same thing, principles, what JP Morgan Chase did. A lot of investors went in there and bought those people homes via tax liens and turned around and made the owners, took their homes renters. So I guess it depends on where you at in Detroit, but downtown Detroit and some of the mansions, they already bought all that stuff up. I don't know if you're talking about places outside of that. Detroit metro area is a big area. So I don't know about, I know 8 Mile, the prices change when you on one side of town versus the other side of town. So it all depends. Will I invest in Detroit? Probably not. And not just no shade, but it's blue. So that's just gone. If it's blue, I ain't doing it. And the Michigan is blue. So I wouldn't be interested. For me moving forward, anything blue, they ain't getting my money. So that's just my take on it. But if it's close to you, just check out where it is. All right. Thank you so much again, Miss Williams. I really appreciate your support. And Rick said oil and gas is through the roof. Yeah, Omaha. That's another good area for investing. And Tennessee, somebody said Tennessee. Yeah, Tennessee is another. But Tennessee, places like Nashville, Memphis, their prices is going up. I think they have the website in Tennessee, what is called the land pool. So sometimes I'll check that out. But that Memphis area, I believe, who is down there? Google, one of them. It's a tech company that's down there, and I don't think y'all have income tax, neither in Tennessee. So Tennessee is a good opportunity. So hopefully this was educational, you guys. I hear somebody say, well, what about Ohio? Now, Ohio, I'm not that familiar with. I will say that. I know it was some programs in Cleveland that they was buying homes, but you want to make sure you just, anything that you're trying to buy homes, even in an urban area, especially if it's Democratic, you guys, keep in mind the landlord-tenant laws and laws in that municipality, okay? Because there's things called rent control. So New York City, Newark, New Jersey, I don't know about like you have parts of Cleveland. It could be rent control. So you want to know that. And you want to know what is your landlord-tenant laws and some of your city rules, because different municipalities have different rules and requirements. So Newark now have changed the rules that now before you got to get a certificate of occupancy anytime a new tenant move in. Okay. So thank you, Mr. Likely. I really appreciate your support. I really do. Thank you so much. Make sure you pay attention to that, because a C of O, anytime you're renting out to a new tenant, sorry to say, that gives the city opportunity to find different ways to go up, to find you, to see if it's any changes that you made to the unit. So it's a lot more oversight. Okay, so you want to keep that in mind. And then sometimes the area bring elements that's going to cost you more. So if it's a higher crime area, you might have to think, you're getting in low, but what kind of tenants are you going to really attract? And it's no shade. It's just, I don't care where you are. When income is lower, you're going to have more problems that come with it. So it's just what it is. Wherever there's poverty, it's the difference between being broke and being poor. You know, poverty is a mindset. So you might have higher cost of repairs, vermin. You got to keep that in mind, because some of these cities, when you got trash and all of that being put out. Thank you so much again, Miss Williams. I really appreciate it. Y'all keep in mind, you got vermin. Okay, sometimes you got vermin. Okay, you get, because what it is, everybody putting their trash out. You got renters, and they don't care how they putting stuff out. You know, so you're gonna have to do some level of pest control every month, possibly, especially if it's a multi-unit. So you want to keep all of that in mind. Also, insurance costs can be more. So you also, if you have an element that's doing drug activity, management cost, if people are not paying their rent on time. So sometimes being in a better area, you don't have investing in a better area. And my home in Jersey is in a better area. Sometimes you don't have all of this, you know, you don't have all of those problems, because people are just going to pay for a better area, a better school system, a certain look, you know, of a neighborhood, where mine is a little rural, you know, no sidewalks. And there's people that want that, you know, quiet neighborhood. There's people that understand being in a different area. It brings, and I not for nothing in a negative, not in a negative way, in that area. There's no transportation, public transportation. So whoever is is going to have a vehicle. And sometimes that's just a whole different way of life. They are different mindset to maintain. That. And it's no shade. I'm from New Jersey. I'm just telling the truth on how it is, helping my mom with her building, because most of the time I'm the one that go there. And then you have to look at too, when you're putting people out, what's the judge's perspective? Okay. What is, if you have to file that in a city, it could be a lot of backup for waiting for that eviction, because there's a lot of cases, and the perspective on the judge a lot of times could be towards their side versus another area where I'm at. Ain't nobody got time for all that. Their perspective on certain things is totally different. So, I mean, I'm just giving you my 21 years of experience. All of that makes a difference. So I will always suggest you want to buy the neighborhood. That's just because pretty soon, if you buy the neighborhood, you know, even if it's the worst house in the neighborhood, you know, you should buy the neighborhood. So you said this is terrible advice. As a person in real estate for 20 years with a master in real estate, over 100 flips, I'm telling you that's total crap. But you saying flips, you're not talking buying whole. So what you talking about? Are you talking about flipping? Because you do know buying whole is a whole different perspective from flipping. So what you talk about, Willis? Please educate us then on your point. You believe right now you want purchase on a flip right now for how much and how you getting in? That's all I'm asking. And if you're not talking about you should buy the neighborhood, you should buy the neighborhood. See, the thing about you, if you're buying a neighborhood, and if you're telling me that you keep saying landlord over 20 years, but you're not giving me information. If you're buying and flipping, what are you going to do? Because you said I've been did 100 flips. So what are you? So if you're a landlord, you're buying what neighborhood, and how are you managing that? If you're telling me that you're not getting a lot of evictions, then what you going to do? Hundreds of New Jersey, I'm an investor for. Okay, where at? Give us neighborhoods. Give us details. Give us details. Where in New Jersey? I mean, give me towns. Give me towns in New Jersey. Where you at? Because I'm Jersey born and bred. So let's not talk about, let's hash it out. What town in New Jersey and where are you investing? And if you're talking about Newark, and I know I'm open for the talk. Let's talk city. Let's talk area. Let's talk neighborhood. Wigway is 0 evictions. The devil is a liar and deceiver. Wigway on that side is the highest crime side. Anybody can Google that. Let's be honest. Okay? South Ward here. So what are you talking about? Wigway Park, all of that. Do the numbers. Because West Ward is even lower than South Ward. So talk to me. So where you at on what street? What street? All facts, just Google it. So don't tell me that. Don't tell me that, because I've been in Newark. You cannot tell me. If you're talking about North Newark, if you're talking about over on Park Street, maybe we talking different. But if you talking Wigway, what we talking about? Share? Because I work them areas, honey. We talking about what? Bergen? 700 block? Oh, I been there. What we talking about? Clinton? Oh, we going to talk about Fabian Place, where I rode by there, and if anybody know about Sue Surf, that's where he got shot up. What we talking about? What you talking about, Willis? So where you talking at? Where you talking? That's actually my area that I work. What are you talking? That's my area over there. So you not talking to me. So don't tell me, do your research. Because one thing about that city, I know that city. So where you talking about? What street? You want to name streets? What street we naming? Okay, crickets. Crickets. Because let me tell you, maybe it's set to be a little better, but it ain't better now. Isn't Carmel Towers? Anybody know Carmel Towers? Where Carmel Towers? Is that up and popping? Oh, I see right there. Oh, what is that? Freeland? No, that's Elizabeth. It's right there where that used to be, that AutoZone. Oh, Fabian, where else on Fabian? Fabian is long, my dude. Where out? Where, between what streets? Oh God, don't tell me Hawthorne and Fabian. Are you over there? Fabian go to what? Clayton? Chancellor? Where we at? Where you at? Okay. So why is it still there? Why you ain't clean that up? Why you ain't clean that up? Why it's been sitting there for years. It's been sitting there. I'm from Liens. So what you saying to me? Liens to Chancellor. What from Liens to Chancellor in there in Fabian, and you telling me that's a good area? Would you live there? Would you live there? Crickets. Now I ain't no shade. I love Newark. I want Newark to come up. I'm from Newark. But anybody that's from Newark know that ain't that it might be better. Maybe I'm lying. But I know in the summertime that ain't where it's at, cause I be out. Okay? No, I be out. No, you talking garbage. No, I'm talking facts. I ain't talking garbage. I'm talking facts. So I love the city. I love the people. But all I'm just saying, we're talking facts. And we know that's the highest crime area over there in the whole city. In the city. Okay? Now let's stop playing with one another. I won't play with you. You won't play with me. But that's the highest crime area. Now, I mean, you saying you got hundreds and all of that is lies. That's bad. Hey, I want it. Hey, if they gonna come in and buy it up, well, who is buying there? Maybe some New York investors. So if we want to talk about it, let's talk about it. If it's New York investors, maybe, because it's a lot of Hasidic Jews coming there, and that's just no shade. It's who knocking on people's doors. But far as owner occupied, it ain't owner occupied unless it's a lot of older, not new owner occupies that is coming there. Now we're going to talk. So since you want to talk, we can talk about Central Ward. That's looking a little different. I mean, you can go into Society Hill. That's a whole nother thing. And that's a whole nother price level. So it's no shade on the city. We're just talking about areas. So it's almost like talking, like, if everybody else don't know, we talk about like boroughs or things like that. But what happened is we're talking about section of the cities. So what I'm telling you, you want to make sure that you invest in certain places. As a black man, I've been investing for 20 years. I'm talking areas. I ain't saying that. Look, you must be fighting for your property, but you good to go. Like I said, there's different sections, different wards. So we talking about Central Ward right now, Society Hill, around the college area. And oh, by the way, segue. My daughter went to Rutgers Newark. So it ain't no shade in that area, but we not going to talk about, oh, you giving people terrible advice. No, I'm telling people, those that are new to investing, you want to stay for certain areas. If it's high crime area, it still stands. You're going to deal with more problems in a high crime area. So you can be in a city, but you want to go for more owners. So if I'm not lying, or those that know it, if we're talking about that Central Ward, we're talking about Society Hill, you're dealing with owners. And you're dealing with a higher price and a higher rental market over there. So anytime that you want to invest, you do want to look at ownership rates. So I'm giving my perspective, you give your perspective, start you a YouTube channel, and you tell people all about your investing. But since we on tonight, since I'm on tonight, just let us know. We'll come and join you, and you can break it down for us. And that ain't no shade. I'm just saying, let us come and hear you talk. So I'm going to go back to my statement. Look into raw land. Make sure you watch your investment. Always know if you in certain areas, you high crime areas, watch the area, because it's going to bring certain things that you're going to have more maintenance, and it could be more break-ins. Okay, especially if you flipping that. I want to, yes, higher price. I just want to know, since he flipped, do you not put the gates on there? Do you not pay for gates? That part. Oh, that's all I gotta say. Oh, you don't board up the windows? Are you paying for gates? Let's stop playing. You not boarding up windows over there. You paying for gates while you doing that flip. Okay, so that tell you why. Because with that flip in that area, if you don't, somebody gonna come through there and doing all your work. So this is what I'm talking about. Cost. All of that is a cost. Material is a cost. So you just want to have consideration, because I've been through all these stages of life. We had to deal with a lot of that stuff. And it's no shade. If you got high crime, since he from North, they don't dump. If you not careful, folks don't come through. If you're not looking and dump a bunch of stuff there in your flip, can you leave your dumpster open? Or you got to move that thing in 2 days? Somebody talk back to me. Because I'm not just hearing, and he know it's true. And we're going to hear crickets. I dare you to do that flip and leave that dumpster there for a week. South Ward, West Ward. So I'm just saying, leave that dumpster there for a week. That's all I'm just saying. Let's see how much cleanup you going to do. Leave that joint unboarded. Let's see if you come back the next day. Show me that one. So this is what I'm telling you. All I'm just telling y'all, consider that in your cost. That's all I'm just saying. Consider that in your cost to make sure. Relax. You should be happy that people kind of see you. 20 years came to your. Oh, I don't have to relax nowhere. I'm going to do what I do. So all I got to say, all you got to do is hit the unsubscribe button and keep it moving. So what I'm just breaking down for the people here is, don't just take that. Now, what you can do is get out. Goodbye. See, that's the thing about YouTube. You ain't got to be here. Matter of fact, I ain't even call you here. I actually don't know you. And so all I'm just saying is, I'm speaking the truth to people so they ain't got to get caught off guard. If you feel a certain kind of way, goodbye and go to his channel. I told you what I can do. I asked the gentleman, post and I will promote his channel. So you ain't got to come over here. Just go on to his channel, or you can go to both channels. Information is great. So all I'm just saying is, what you got to consider when you are dealing in certain areas. The young lady from Vegas, they had a show. It's called Flipping Vegas. You'll see certain things that if it's in certain areas, whether you are flipping or you are renting, there's going to come a cost. So don't, make sure. And what it is with a gondola, somebody said, what's a gondola? So what it is, you got to make sure that you put that in your cost, because things like this, gates, if you're doing a flip, that costs you monthly. So if you're looking to purchase a rental property that you are going to do work in to come in cheap, certain areas like that, you have to rent gates, because you can put all your work in there and things get broken into. So consider that part of your cost. Other areas, you might not have vandalism. So you want to consider all of this and think about what the cost is. So these are certain things, like I said. But if you are in blue states, you want to be a landlord, there are tougher landlord-tenant laws set up against you. You're going to have to look at that as a cost, okay? You got to see how long and how much is it going to cost me to get this person out if they don't pay. What is gates? Oh, okay. I'm sorry. Well, gates is this. There's, I know in the East Coast area, it's like these big metal window covers. And so it's beyond just the bars. It's a big cover that they cover all your windows, but you got to pay a monthly fee. So you can do that in the basement. So sometimes if a building is vacant or you doing a work on a building because you purchased it, you have to buy those gates, because if you are doing a flip, you're putting copper in there. So a lot of it you can now use the PEX, but people will break in for copper and snatch all your copper out. Okay, so what happened is you got to make sure, if you done spend time with contractors, plumbers, and laborers, even for that person just breaking in, it can cost you tons of money. Just breaking your windows, going in and just opening walls, even to find. So you got people that lay sheetrock. You have people that did spackling. So this is time, and if they mess up with even just breaking in your wall, you also have electrical back there. So you want to make sure that you put all of these factors in there, because those gates cost you $500 a month. It depends on how many windows you have. So sometimes you can break. So what I'm telling you, if you're doing a flip, let's say, are you going to rent this out? You purchase a property, which is in a certain neighborhood. It's a neighborhood that you're purchasing in, but it's in a neighborhood that is not, it's in a high crime area. It's cheaper, but think about it. If you're putting work in that and then it's taking you 3 months, you got to factor in the cost of how much is to protect that neighborhood. Okay. So, I mean, to protect that asset before you get renters in there. Now, sometimes what you can do is in that area, and I bet you ask them this, if you want to save costs, you can get somebody to sit in the house. You know, you can get somebody to sit in there. Okay, so, but you know, that's a gamble. And at the same time, that's like a roundabout, because the place is not livable. So technically you can get yourself in trouble by doing that. You got to get the C of O. So this is why I'm breaking down for y'all. You want to pay attention to certain things like this. It can cost you, but you thinking you're doing a good thing. I'm just giving y'all advice over things we ran into over the years that nobody told you. And these are just real things. Dumping. If they come through a lot of these cities, if you have, you're doing a rehab, you have to get a gondola or a container. You will have other people, because that's there, come and dump in your container. Now remember, you are doing a project, so sometimes with that dumping, they go on the weight. So if somebody come and dump in stuff, and now you have to have that hauled out, you got to pay for that. So that gondola might cost you, depend on if you got a 20-yarder or how big it is, that can cost you maybe $700, $800 over the tonnage. So that's another cost. Then if you have your other contractors line up to do certain work, they got other jobs. So these people work for themselves. You might have not done that clean out on time, because now you got somebody that came in here and dumped, and now it's a spillover. So you got trash all around there. I'm telling y'all the real because we done did it. This is what we done dealt with. So that's why I know he ain't got no more to say, because he can't say it's not true. I know the area well. So you have to have heads up for this stuff. This is the stuff that them shows, sometimes you might see certain things, but they don't tell you about all those costs. So you want to make sure you're going to get a return. That's all I'm just saying. If you're investing, you want to make sure what your property taxes are. Certain areas like Jersey, property taxes go up. They never go down. I have never seen property taxes go down. So in those cases, when you, let's say, flipping that home, putting work in that home, they might come in and reassess that home. And then you have different permits. You have inspections. So even with a flip, say you purchase a house in a certain neighborhood, it has been sometimes my experience when you dealing with cities, there's not like a lot of inspectors. Okay, so it's a city, so it can take time. Those permits cost you, depending on the job. Permits are costing you like, could be $6,000 to $10,000 for permits. So then every part of your development, you have to come and have inspectors come in. So you have to have fire inspection. That's an inspector to come in. Inspector to come in to look at the what is that? Installation. You have to have an inspector to come in to look at certain the plumbing. You have to do the plumbing. Thank you for sharing the knowledge. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. Oh, I really do, Latoya. Thank you so much. So you have all these stages, and if they don't close this stuff out, and you know you got to wait from inspectors, you can't get people there. And like I said, you have costs. So you also have to have insurance while you doing this. You have to have what's called a builder's risk policy. So when we were doing it, the builder risk policy cost us every 6 months $6,000 to get the place up and running. Okay, so all of this is cost. Sometimes when you're in other smaller areas, you can get inspectors out quicker because they don't have the caseload. So what I'm just telling you, you better just have money in the bank. You just definitely, if you buying this stuff and you know, don't go in there not being prepared for all these things. And anybody that is in flipping or whatever, they know darn well every part I'm telling you is true. So you got to think about all of this. And then you got to think material. So if you have certain material sitting in there and you got tools, so you want to make sure you got that place sealed, because if anybody got tools, I'm a landlord for real. So we got major tools. If you leave your tools on the work site and somebody break in there, tools can move real quick. So I'm just giving people different perspectives. We deal on both sides. So you just got to make sure you know about these costs. Okay, so don't just assume because I bought it cheap. You got to consider the area. You really do. Because sometimes you ain't going to deal with all of that with different areas. So what I'm saying, for people that come in, you know, it's a, yeah, tools are big. Yeah, people are take your tools. So you got to think about all these costs, because these costs do add up. And so if you're investing, make sure what the Bible said, nobody build without counting the costs. Make sure you stick to that rule. You got to count the costs. Try your best to do your research. If you're doing flips, if you buying land, always research what's the envelope. The envelope is what you can build there or what can be done there. Some of this stuff too is grandfathered in. Okay, you start making changes, you got to bring stuff up to code. Okay, so I mean, he talking to a real one here. Okay, because been there, done that. So you start taking stuff out, doing remodeling, you better look at that, because some of that stuff, then the electrical got to be brought up to code, plumbing. So they'll change standards on different type of breakers, for instance. So you got to bring that stuff up to code. Sometimes if you buy a building that's pre-existing, you don't have to bring that up to code. So you got to think about all the costs, because these are hidden fees that nobody tell you about. That these are things that sometime until you in it, you don't take in consideration. Also, I do inspections there for the banks for fire damage. You got certain buildings, if it's over certain units, it catch on fire and you trying to redo it, try to reflip it. There's some that you got to put in a sprinkler system, and that can run you another 50 to 60 grand just adding in the sprinkler system. And it can cost you a monthly bill of $500 a month just having the water run in there. So you got to think about all this stuff. So I know I'm giving you a lot, but I'm just telling you, these are the hidden things that you might not consider. Okay, so as my lawyer told me, sometimes it's not the gun in your face that'll get you, but it's the 2x4 in the back of the head. So this is how the cost can get you caught up. And before you look around, you're wholly in debt for this. So you want to just make sure you take consideration. You might purchase a property. Like I said, with the envelope, you can buy land. You got to make sure you could develop that land for that use. So say if you buying a piece of land, say if you buy a property and you like, oh, my house, I'll give you a perfect example. My house in a residential area, it is the only multifamily in its unit in that area is grandfathered in. So they tell me personally, the municipality, if this ever catch on fire, it can't be a multifamily anymore because it's grandfathered in. So you got to know. You got to know what your zoning is. So if it ever burned down, you can't build it back, because some places it's like that. You're purchasing a property, it's in that state, but the use in that neighborhood is not that same use anymore. So you gotta do your research. So you might say, hey, this house, you want to bring up Wigway. Wigway is a perfect example. Wigway section, anybody from there, Wigway section, big beautiful houses, older homes. There were a lot of people that turned those older homes into two families. So you might purchase it, and its original state was a one family huge home, but you purchase it and it's a two family, and they come and find out that's a violation. That wasn't legal. So you want to make sure that all those alterations are legal. Okay, so they also in Newark, there were homes that was volunteered, not volunteered, they bought it at it was a Catholic organization helping homeowners get there, and they're known. You'll see these homes, they're built a certain way, and they have a unit behind a garage, but then they have a unit upstairs, downstairs. When the market was buzzing, they were saying that was a 3-family, but it wasn't a legal 3-family. It was really only a 2-family. So when people put it on the market, people thinking it's a 3-family, they purchase it, come to find out you can't legally rent that out. And it's a whole apartment back there, but it's not legal. So you want to do your research on that. So even if you're looking at it, you got to make sure that it's legal. So keep that in mind. So I thought fire systems, it depends on fire system. I inspected somebody who, as a matter of fact, I think that is Pennsylvania. If somebody know, down below Miller Street and what is that, 21, back down there, almost, it's those little apartments down there, little projects down there. Y'all know, I don't know if y'all know about that. little projects down there off of Miller Street, back up in there. And the gentleman had an apartment building, some apartment units, and it was a storefront, caught on fire, cost him about 70 grand. And Perf Amboy was a same situation, multi-unit with no commercial, and it cost them about 70 grand. So it all depends. Before the fire, they didn't have, if you had two egresses, one in the front, one exit on the two exits on the side, it's grandfathered in. But if it catch on fire and you say, oh, this is a good opportunity, this is fire, property, I can just do some work, you better look at those costs. And you better look at other things like having an architect come in. Because some of that with fire damage, they have to give you got to get a structural engineer to make sure it's safe. Those plans with the architect, that can cost you about 20 G's to draw up those plans. Those plans got to be approved by every department that's downtown or that's in that inspection, plumbing, fire, electrical, all of them have to review those plans, and each one of them departments get a couple of weeks. So you might not roll that out. You might have purchased that property, got them gates up that you paying monthly, and you can't get that through downtown. And especially with the pandemic, people ain't up in there. So it can take, each department can take a couple of weeks on a good day. So you thinking, oh, I'm getting a deal. And if those things are whatever your architect, if it's not completely right, they're going to send that back. And you got to send that back to your architect. And then they got to, we had this experience. So I'm giving you way too much to know that if I'm lying, I'm flying. So you can get a builder, construction, they going to tell you everything I'm telling you is right. They going to say, they going to know I know what I'm talking about. So I do the inspections. Actually, when you have the fire inspection, I do the inspection for the bank to see if it's approved. Okay, for the next draw. It's called draft inspections. So when they have fires, I'm dealing with the contractors on what stage and what money they getting. So y'all gonna, that gentleman gonna learn today. Okay? You're gonna learn today. Because that area I work, them streets I work, you can't tell me about my own area that I work. That's part of what I do in property preservation. That's the area we work. All over there. So that you got to consider the cost, y'all. And like I said, if it's fire damage, it's a lot to that. And you got to get them draws. You got, you just got to know this stuff can get at you if you're not careful. Okay, so you got to know the material costs. You got to know this, that stuff is not cheap. So that's all I'm just telling you. If you're looking to invest, whatever you're doing, make sure you research it out to your best ability. Talk to other people that's investing in that area. Say, for instance, you looking to flip. If you right in that area, you see somebody working on a project, go talk to them. Maybe they can give you some information you don't know. So that's a great advice. Go talk to them. Okay? Go find out. They might tell you something that you don't see. Okay? It might be some changes that you don't know about in the process. So you want to consider all of this because it's part of your cost. And so each city, each neighborhood, they got different size of town. Every town I have been in have its sketchy town and they have their other side. So you got to know where you at. Okay? The cost can be much different. Like the gentleman that said Detroit. And the other gentleman from North got triggered. I said the same thing with him from Detroit. Downtown, if he's still in here from Detroit, it's different numbers than over there close to 8 Mile. I got family in Detroit too. It's a whole different, it's you over on the other side of 8 Mile and see, you go there yourself. See if I'm a lying, I'm flying. Go to Zillow, look at where 8 Mile is, and look at the other side and the other side and see if you don't have price variation. And it's all the same city. It's all the same city. See, if the Bronx, my New Yorkers, is right now a different price than Harlem, because we all know Harlem been gentrified. Certain parts, go to Brooklyn now. Where Brooklyn at? Yeah, you go to Brooklyn now. Brooklyn is crazy. It's off the hook now. It wasn't that way a couple of years ago, but there's different costs in different sections of town. Don't get in your feelings. Don't get mad. It's just what it is. So you need to know that, because that's going to dictate what you do. How about Virginia? Let's talk about Virginia. There's a difference. My daddy house in Suffolk. There's difference in Chesapeake. Come on, we know it's a difference in Newport News and Portsmouth. Let's talk about it. Okay, you in Chesapeake, that's going to be a different price than Portsmouth and Newport News. No shade. No shade. It just is what it is. How about North Carolina? Let's look at North Carolina. There's a difference in the triangle zone. There's a difference in Cary, North Carolina, that's next to Durham, North Carolina. You're talking about you got different sections and you're going to pay a different cost. So you got to consider all of this. You got to just, ain't nobody got to get mad. Nobody ain't got to get mad. It's just the facts. You just got to understand where you are investing. Okay, so North Carolina, the areas I was looking at, Land, Durham, Cary. I like Cary. That's all in that triangle circle. Raleigh is part of that. Raleigh, downtown Raleigh, when I went down there, they was doing a lot of work. So downtown Raleigh looked totally different. And I said, how about Virginia? Virginia, like I said, Chesapeake is supposed to be a better area than Newport News, Portsmouth. And like I said, if you go out further, yes, it's supposed to be, you want to be more or less in Chesapeake. Virginia Beach is out there now. So we know that. And Suffolk, my father's house is in Suffolk. But at that time, to get a cheaper house, he had to drive. That's a good drive if you live or you work around in Chesapeake. But Chesapeake is huge too. So I'm quite sure it's the same thing. It's variations in Chesapeake. There's variations in Virginia Beach. But the closer you get to the beach of Virginia Beach, the more you going to pay. So you got Chesapeake. It's different size of Chesapeake. So it's not throwing shade that, oh, you talking crap. No, it's not throwing shade. You just got to know which side you investing in. So, Suffolk is out in the boonies. But the only thing is, the thing with Suffolk, you might get about money. We're talking about VA, Don B. That's what we're talking about, Virginia. So I'm talking about that Virginia Beach area. So the person that was talking about Portsmouth. Now, you do have that area with Richmond, which is north. Is more expensive around Richmond. So anything you getting closer to Washington, D.C., we know it's the same thing with Maryland, Baltimore, anything around that D.C. metro, it gets more expensive. So Virginia, you got other places like, what is that over there? Lawrenceville, over in that West Virginia area, it might not be as expensive. So and like you said, I'm in Brooklyn and New York is sky high. Brooklyn is sky high. So it just turned that way. So Brooklyn wasn't always that way. So if, back in the 90s, Bedford-Stuyvesant, now you had Crown Heights, you got different sections that might have ran different, but you got parts of Brooklyn that got homes. You got parts of Queens that's very suburban, but you got your crossover, So it's all relative, and it's not crapping on nobody's city. Like I said, I'm not crapping on my city, and it's not bad advice. It's just you got to know the price that you can sell that could be much different from the other side of town. So like I said, using that example, Newark, Central Ward is popping. It's just, it's popping. They did a lot of work. Central Ward, North Newark, certain parts. Prospect Street, get a little choppy. Highland Street, get better when you go down by Tiffany Avenue. Get better. West Ward is the same thing. You get a little choppy up there by that pool. Sunnyside, Alexander. My God, if you try to go up there by Unity Avenue and 18th Avenue, everybody from there already know what time it is. 18th Avenue, we already know if you from there. But is this throwing shade? I'm from there. Grove Street, Wellsburg. Grove Street, when the brewery was there. So we from there. So it's just saying you gotta, but I will say that whole city, you better pay for them gates. I don't care from the rooter to the tutor. Pay. No, the only place I don't see gates paid for vacant houses is Central Ward. I mean, right there in Society Hill. Because I'm giving y'all intel, like with Newark, I have to go in them joints. Or somebody going in there. We go in there. So that's all I'm just saying. So if you want to build income, build cash flow, you working on your credit, it could be an option. If you're new to the game, I was new to the game, purchase a multifamily where you can live in. Somebody said Virginia, in that now Virginia Beach is really priced out, even like a lot of Virginia. But a matter of fact, my brother live in the area. They're purchasing a home now. So you can get it. It can happen in that Chesapeake area. But you can, in Virginia Beach, they have duplexes. So you might have to purchase a duplex. Live on one side, rent out the other side. So that could be a way in getting and investing. So that's all I'm just saying. Take that in consideration. That might be even in Newark. You can, if you don't, have small children. I moved back to Newark. Matter of fact, I had a house in Hartford, Connecticut. Okay? Heartbeat. I was in Hartford. Okay, but I was on the south side of Hartford. There's different sides of Hartford. If Connecticut in the house, you already know. It's different sides. What I do, I move right in my house with my kids. So it is what it is. I grew up on 20th between Central and South Orange, and that's where I was between Central. So you in them streets almost where Redman and them. He's still up in that area. I'm over there. We was on Grove Street, right in front of the graveyard. So about in the same area. Central in between whatchamacallit. So the whole CT is Chicago. Now CT got different levels. The heartbeat is different. It's different size of everything. It was different times right in front of the cemetery. Exactly. So he was your best friend. Yeah, they was up in that area. Yeah. So like I said, I have love for the city. It's no shade. We just talking what is. It's just some of these things you have to consider. So that's all I'm just saying. Be careful. Figure out all of these things. You know what I'm saying? Count in the costs of all of these things. And a lot of this is your standard. Okay? It's what you want to do. My parents end up leaving there, building a house, because they were sending all of us to Catholic school. So the cost of having a multifamily, I was born in a house in Newark. And my parents owned them from the day I was born. But what it was, the cost of trying to send us, and this was back in the 80s. So the school systems are different wherever you go. Even in that city, everything is different. There's some great teachers, great schools. No, I can't say that. It's all depend on how you wanna, how y'all wanna, how you educate your children. It's great charter schools or whatever. But in the 80s, it was a much different Newark than it is now. I will say that. So they was paying for us for Catholic schools. So it was just made more sense for them to save that cost and move somewhere else. And where we can go to a public school system. Now, the schools are much different than what it was back then. In the 80s, much different. So always take all of that into consideration. So if you can figure out different ways to invest, if people in the rural area, family from the South, might get land. I know this is kind of new from Northeast Jersey, New York. We're not too familiar, but those in the South, you purchase land, you can get a trailer home. Trailers ain't bad. Actually, it's not even trailers, really. It's manufactured homes. Or if you're looking to build your own personal home, you can get modular homes. Anytime y'all have land, you can leverage the land for a mortgage. Okay? So you can leverage that land for a mortgage. So think about that. So if you own the land, then you can get the land developed. You can get a module drop. Anybody that from the South, you know, if your family have land, then if they give you permission, you can get a mobile put on there. If you got enough acreage, you might start off with putting the mobile on one side, save your money, and then build on the other side. If you got an acre, 2 acres, and then you can with that mobile, rent out the mobile, you know, for lot rent, or finance that mobile, and they pay you lot rent and the financing. So all I'm just giving y'all options is more than one way to skin a cat. You just got to look at your area. If your area is really expensive, you know, maybe look out of state. You know, look out of state. If you're looking out of state, I did that. Pay attention to the rules. That's all I'm just saying. In all of this, pay attention to the rules. My family, even with raw land, mother and father about to buy raw land, but always remember, with land, do it have electric? Do it have utilities moving there? And do it have sewer? So sometimes when you're dealing with raw land, see if it have your utilities, because that can be expensive. So if you don't have sewer, you have to get a septic. And if that, you got to do perk test and things like that in order to put that septic in the ground. Certain soil types don't perk, so you won't be able to develop that. So you want to make sure you do your research. You have to do a perk test. If it's sewer there, you ain't got to worry about that. If that land is too far out, you don't have electric, you got to think about, do you have to have a pole drop there? Or if it, on that land, you got certain places you want to build on that land, you might consider where that pole is. And that might be where you're going to have to build on that land, because we have the same situation going on with some land. If they don't have water, you got to dig a well. So you got to think about that. How much is that well going to cost? Like the gentleman in Phoenix. When you in Arizona, they ain't got no utilities. And sometimes a well ain't a good option. They have to do a catchment system. Sometimes you got to do rainwater if you're not close to certain cities. You know, like you don't have, we said, what about the cost of electrical and sewer these days estimate? It all depends to your region. You know, so in the South, you might get it cheaper, you know, for sewer and electrical, for the septic than what it will be in Jersey. But when it comes down to places like Arizona, trying to dig a well can be very expensive, because it's around Phoenix is a desert. Cochise County, where I was looking at, is a freaking desert. But what we was looking at, I'm looking at Sholo. That's up in the mountains in Nevada, Arizona. That's a whole different region, whole different landscape. It don't get as hot. That's not the desert up there. So you still don't have utilities, but it's a whole different territory. So that's why I'm saying. And one thing I like about Arizona with Cochise County, what drew me to look at Arizona, there's no building requirements there. You can do whatever you want to do. You can do it. So, and how much you said, 17 feet to get a well in Miami? Yeah, and that's probably expensive around Miami. and the water table is different. So you always gotta, like I said, we talking Florida. Got land a lot there in Florida. A couple lots in Florida. Grandmother old lot. My father mother. She had a mobile. We was looking at putting a mobile there. When it come to Florida and doing mobiles, you gotta have it strapped down differently. Some of those places, Florida, Oklahoma, you gotta have hurricane straps for Florida. Oklahoma and some of those other regions have twisters. So you gotta look into that. Sometimes you gotta have a certain type of mobile for that region that can withstand those types of winds. So in Florida, definitely with mobiles, you have to have certain straps, okay? And sometimes that mobile have to be graded to withstand certain winds. So it has a placard in there to show what region that mobile is built for. So like I said, take these things in consideration. And like I said, hopefully I'm going to close this down. I thank everybody for the super chat, but it's just some things to consider moving forward. Don't try to buy too crazy right now. Wait to see what the market do. If you can, for your personal home, but if you got to move, guess you got to do what you got to do. Just keep all of these things in mind. If you're looking to invest, like I said, alternate might be mobiles. You can get real cheap. You're welcome. Thank you so much for joining me. Thank you. You could come in real cheap and you don't have to spend $100,000. You might not don't have to worry about getting a mortgage. Another thing, if you're looking for a personal residence, you're open to it. Manufactured homes now look like homes. Okay, they got triple wides. If you get the land, you don't need a mortgage. You can get that with it's like an auto loan. So you can get in that real easy than a mortgage. Now, I'm not saying, because some of them can get pricey, but it's a depreciating asset. But what you can, if you attach it to land, if you put it on a base and take it off of the wheels and block it in, it becomes real property. So it becomes real estate property, real property. So look into those things. I'm looking at mobiles with land. They holding their price competitive in some areas with home prices. So I'm just giving you alternative options that might be more viable for this market this time. So thank you guys for joining me. I hope this was educational. I hope people don't feel a certain way, but we're just all having a conversation. Anybody got information, please let me know. I'll help support the channel, because if y'all can, we can trade information from one another. Let's do that. So y'all be blessed. Happy Mother's Day to everyone. I really appreciate it. Those gentlemen, I got a couple. My brother is doing it. My middle brother that's raising your kids. As a father, happy Mother's Day. I know some people don't like that, but there's some dads out here playing the role of mama. So my hat's off to you. Those aunts, grandmothers who are taking care of, filling in, happy Mother's Day to you. And even if you are really helping foster children, they might not be in your household, but you might, don't have children, but you taking care of the neighborhood. Happy Mother's Day to you too. God bless you all. Happy Mother's Day. Enjoy your day.